You got the call. Welcome to the big leagues, kid. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the call-up presented by Triple Play Fantasy. Week 21, baby. We are moving and grooving here. Happy to have you guys joining us for another week. Of course, joined by my co-host and brother here on the Prospect Show, Michael Richards, a.k.a. Baby Huey. How's it going, man?
Going good, David. Always happy to be here with you. Like you said, week 21. I can't believe we've been doing this for 5 months. We've had some great guests along the way, and this week is no different. This is a man that I saw on social media early this season and noticed a lot of similar traits to the things that I was doing when I got started, and I wanted to highlight him and get a chance to talk with him, so happy that he's here.
That's right. The mystery man lives life by the 3 Ds. He's a dad, day-to-day job, and dynasty player. You guys don't know him. He's at Pop-Up Prospects on Twitter. He's playing tons of dynasty fantasy baseball content focused on minor league and prospect performance based on data analytics. Has a site that you need to check out called popupprospects.com. It is the one and only Brandon in the house tonight. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. This is my first podcast, so I'm pretty excited to share it with you both. Michael obviously has been a big influence, and following his minor league prospect tweets over the years, and appreciate both having me on.
Of course, man. I have to ask you before we dive in here, please tell us about popupprospects.com. If I were to type that in the old Google machine and I'm seeing it for the first time, what am I going to see over on this site?
Yeah, it's pretty simple right now. It's a blog, basically, where I'm sharing updates based on the data analytics that I'm doing on a weekly basis. Just over the years, found that I could crunch numbers and find dynasty value in minor league prospects. A lot of times I'm moving those players in my dynasty league for established players to improve my roster. But finding those players, being the first to the punch was critical to my team's success. So I decided to start sharing that with the world this year and posting mostly to Twitter, and then a lot of the detailed stuff to the blog.
It's really cool. If you guys go to popupprospects.com, it seems like every day you've got the kind of top performances here. And then if you click on or if you click on the analytics, or I'm going to be more statistical analysis, look at the exact wording right here. You have their lines, you have the team they play for, positions. It's really cool, actually. It's like the top prospects of that day all in one place. It's really cool. I think people that love prospects and want to see what they're doing, particularly the people that are balling out. It's a nice shortcut to kind of see that without having to scout them up. So you are doing the Lord's work, my friend, with that.
Thank you. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the internet, Twitter, all fan graphs, Reddit, reading about prospects, and over the years started noticing the things that I kind of wanted to know more about on specific prospects. Comparing two guys, is one guy a better power tool, better hit tool, and how do I make the decision which one to roster? So I kind of want to skip that step and let the numbers do the work and tell me which one should be on my roster, essentially.
I love it. And again, Brandon has such a great prospect background that's why he had to be a guest on today's show. As we're winding down here in the season, it's grind time. So let's talk about some minor league players of the week from this past week. Kicking things off with a name you've seen on the show before, and I feel like he has not been treated the right way this year with how much he's been balling out. Miguel Vargas of the Los Angeles Dodgers, third baseman and outfielder. Over the last 10 days, a .516 batting average, 643 OBP, 903 slug, 2 homers. He got 3 steals. And on the season, just a really great line, above 300 batting average, 17 homers, 16 steals. The K to walk are nearly identical, Brandon. He's just someone, I think at this point, he has nothing left to prove at AAA, and he's just a baller.
Yeah, that's a good summary. I should mention we could have just as easily talked about James Outman here, who hit 2 cycles this week. Super impressive player as well. 45% rostered on Fantrax, so there's still some room to find Vargas on the wire. His 30-day numbers are even more, his 10-day numbers are impressive. His 30-day numbers also equally as impressive. 15 walks, 16 strikeouts, 1021 OPS, tearing the cover off the ball. He got his cup of coffee earlier in August. And I think ever since then, he's just been ripping at the ball, trying to get back to the big leagues. So,
yeah, somebody that I would imagine is, maybe he gets a September call up, but if not, then you expect he could contend for playing time right out of the gate next season. Let's go to your first player here, Mike, and Connor Norby from Baltimore, a name people might not recognize as much because we see the DL Halls, the Gunnar Hendersons, and he kind of flies a little bit more under the radar here. Second baseman in the Orioles organization between high A and double A this year. But the past 10 days and over 400 batting average, 5 homers, 3 steals, and on the year, a very healthy 269 batting average. Got 22 home runs, 14 stolen bases, and 130 WRC plus. The walk rate's nearly double digits here. Seems like he's got a lot of good tools here. And he's on mute. Yeah. Rookie mistake, baby Huey.
Sorry about that. Connor Norby has definitely caught my attention this week with his performance, or over the last 10 days, with those 5 home runs and 3 steals. I obviously like the power speed. The 509 slugging is what really has my attention here on this player. He's got a nice walk rate, good strikeout rate. 130 WRC plus is solid. But this is a player who, coming into the season, had a above average hit tool with below average raw power and average speed. So getting into this power is what's really got me intrigued. He was actually struggling a little bit in high A this year. I wouldn't say struggling, but he was pretty mediocre to average for what I was looking for from a top prospect at second base. And he got bumped up to double A. He has 14 home runs and 8 steals, over 10% walk rate, under 20% strikeout rate, hitting 299, 379, 559 in double A with a 158 WRC plus. So he's really taken a big step forward. He's playing the best he's played in his career. He was a second-round pick in 2021, so he's an advanced college bat. I don't think there's huge upside in speed here. I think he'll chip in. But overall, I think he's an underrated player and someone you should probably target if you're looking for some help that's relatively close.
All right, Connor Norby, another player you need to keep an eye on in the Baltimore Orioles organization. This next player is somebody that a lot of you guys have heard of, Jasson Dominguez, outfielder in the New York Yankees organization. Over the last 10 days, a 356, 408, 533 slash line. He's got 5 steals. And on the season, 34 steals, a healthy 275 batting average. The walk and strikeout rates are very, very, I would say they're decent for where he's at this point in his development. Just kind of reason I liked him this past week here is overall in 106 games, it has been pretty solid. Again, he's only 19 years old. But in August especially, a 337, 451, 506 slash line and 86 at-bats as of just a couple days ago. And somebody that, to me, he's showing why he's one of the best young prospects in the game. You see the stolen bases. You see he's got 39 extra base hits on the year. I just think across the board, he's showing that he's developing, showing why he was one of the top international prospects according to evaluators here. I think they say that his hit tool, I think they called him something like the Martian or something because his hit tools were out of this world or something. I think that's what I read. A lot of plus grades on a lot of different things about him. The speed, obviously, the power is not shown there quite yet, as he had 5 home runs in just 56 games last season, and then in this year between A ball and high A ball, only has 12 home runs in just under 500 plate appearances. So I think there is some area of his game that he needs to work on. But overall, very excited to see what Jasson Dominguez can still do here. Let's go to the pitching side of things. Let's start off with our first guy here, and Brandon's going to talk about his first guy, Emmet Sheehan of the Los Angeles Dodgers, an organization that just knows how to churn out pitching. But this is the first time he's been talked about on this show. So tell us a little bit about him, Brandon.
Yeah, I like Sheehan a lot. I should say it's weird. As a Padres fan, I'm picking two Dodgers, but they're worth talking about. I know you guys have talked about Bobby Miller and Nick Nastrini pretty recently. So good segue into Sheehan. 5% rostered on Fantrax. Going into the season, Fangraphs gave him 60 grade fastball, 70 grade curveball, 40 grade command, which is what he needed to work on. For the most part, he's kind of done that. His K rate is pretty impressive, but he's still walking more than 10%, which something to keep an eye on. Pitched all year at high A. I would note that Fangraphs had a cool article interview with Sheehan pretty recently where he was talking about the separation between his fastball and his breaking balls. He's throwing a slider now. Fangraphs didn't have that in the preseason report. But the whole interview made him sound really smart. And it sounds like the things that the Dodgers are teaching him are really resonating with him, and he's connecting with those concepts. I know, like pitch tunneling has been a big topic really recently, and it sounds like Sheehan's got a good idea of what kind of separation he wants on his pitches. So really interesting prospect, and he's really come into his own really recently. You see that 19 strikeouts and 9 innings pitched, super impressive. His strengths, elite K rate. The walk rate's kind of average for the level, and I'd like to see weaker contact, but overall pretty excited about Sheehan.
Yeah, how can you not be excited with the changes he's making with the organization he's with right now? The results are showing a kind of a guy there that seems like he's an up and comer here in this prospect system. So I'm buying in. I think you convinced me on Sheehan here. So nice new name to talk about here in the Dodgers system. Let's go to the next player here. We're going to talk about who recently just got a prospect promotion to the big leagues, and Hunter Brown, right-handed pitcher for the Houston Astros, and he deserves it. Last 10 days, 8.1 innings, 3 earned runs, 3.24 ERA, and on the season, a 2.55 ERA, even though the FIP is a little bit higher, still respectable at a 3.30 FIP, 31.5% K rate. Hunter Brown, I know we talked about him a while back, but good to see him get the call as one of the two Astros here. Baby Huey, give us some Hunter Brown love like we need it right now.
Yeah, you actually just broke some news to me right there. I thought he was going to get called up when the rosters expanded. I didn't realize it was official yet, but I cheated a little bit here because it's been so hard to find good pitchers. He did get 2 wins this week, but this is a guy that stood out since the early season. My first article for Fantrax was talking about players standing out at different levels, and he was one of the standouts at AAA in the first month of the season. He's if the Astros weren't so loaded, he would have been called up already.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the role is going to be this year. I mean, it could be anywhere from he's in the rotation as one of the 6 starters to a multi-inning reliever to like a late inning guy. I do think he has the stuff. Looking at his scouting grades, he's got a plus fastball, plus slider, double plus curveball, and he has a change that's probably average. Command was the issue, as it always is with all pitchers, but he's shown improvements there. He was walking 5.3 batters per 9 in Double-A last year. It's down to 3.8 this year, so he's making the changes I need to see. He looks like he could be an impact player for the Astros because they're a really good team to be a pitcher for. So this is someone I think you should target pretty aggressively right now in fantasy leagues.
Yeah, Hunter Brown, and he did say that, or not that he did say, but right now the Astros do have Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers Jr., Jose Urquidy, Luis Garcia, and Christian Javier. So I would not expect him to get a shot in the rotation, but he could be brought in for some long relief. So that is, I think, where we see him first, but well deserving of the prospect promotion for sure. This next player here that I wanted to highlight really quick is not somebody that is necessarily has a ton of prospect pedigree. He's not in the Yankees' top 30 prospects. Matt Sauer, I just wanted to highlight him because he is coming off an 8-inning, 17 strikeout game. So I think it's one of those things when you have a game like that, you got to be talked about here. 8 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 17 strikeouts in that start. On the season, 4.89 ERA, even though it wasn't that high in high A, it obviously has been not as great in Double-A. 396 FIP, 33.9% K percentage will play between those two levels. But again, just a name to keep in mind here. Maybe not necessarily going to set the world on fire, but right now in Double-A, you could hear his name in the next couple of years. Still 23 years old, but if you can get 17 strikeouts in a game, you should be on people's radar as a possibility for something down the road. So just wanted to bring him up really quickly here. Let's go to the notable promotions section, though, here. And there's been a lot since our last show. Corbin Carroll, the almost consensus number 1 top prospect in baseball for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Gunnar Henderson, another top 2 or 3 prospect in baseball with the Orioles. Garrett Mitchell with the Milwaukee Brewers. Yainer Diaz and Hunter Brown both getting the call for the Houston Astros here. Brandon, I'm going to go to you really quickly here. Out of all these names, we talk about Corbin Carroll, we talk about Gunnar Henderson a lot. Hunter Brown, we just talked about. Yainer Diaz or Garrett Mitchell? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but this is why you're one of the best prospect minds in the game, because I'm going to put you on the spot. Out of these 2 guys, are you excited for one over the other?
You guys hear me right now?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
Okay. Probably Garrett Mitchell, the pedigree and what the Brewers have done with the outfield prospects recently. But I don't know. Neither of them really moved the needle much for me.
So no redraft value for fantasy baseball this year in your mind? Not really. He's mouthing no, even though.
Yeah, it looks like we're having some connection issues for anyone that's listening.
That's okay, because I'd seem like
there might be value. I mean, if they were available, I would roster them, but not.
I think we're all on the same page. I said not too interested the rest of the season. I don't think I am as well. So we can move on then from that.
I just want to throw something in. If you needed a catcher, like a second catcher, I don't know what Diaz's playing time, but that's not the worst gamble there. And Garrett Mitchell did hit a homer and steal in one game. So if he's playing regularly and chipping in, not a bad flyer for cheap also.
Yeah, Garrett Mitchell is definitely an interesting name. I think he's pretty fast, if I'm not mistaken, too, right? He's one of the...
Yeah, he's a speed threat, and he's got a good hit tool, so it's just been the power that they've kind of questioned where it's going to get to. But we're 5 weeks left in the season. If he's playing every day for Milwaukee, I mean, he could help down the stretch.
Yeah, Garrett Mitchell is somebody definitely to keep an eye on with the speed. Stolen bases, you're always going to need it in fantasy baseball, especially in roto leagues here. Let's go, Mike. Let's go to your guy here in prospect watch. So somebody that you're keeping an eye on in the minor leagues, and the guy that you want to talk about, Angel Martinez, a middle infielder for the Cleveland Guardians, just 20 years old in Double-A, and decent numbers across the board here. How come you got your eye on him?
Well, yeah, Angel Martinez, I've brought him up one other time on the show a while back, but he's anyone who's followed me, I've liked him for a long time. I was probably higher on him than most people, probably even before he deserved it. But I just saw the potential, and it doesn't necessarily, the stats don't necessarily jump off the page yet, as I said before, but he's moved up to Double-A recently, and he's still 20 years old, like you said, and he's actually hanging with the Double-A pitchers. He's improved a little bit. It's still a small sample size, but just doing this for years, a hitter with an above average hit tool, developing some level of power and plus speed. That's a middle infielder, and he's 20 years old in Double-A and not looking overmatched. That's a sign of someone who's going to be jumping up prospect lists. And as I've said before, I don't think we've seen the full potential of what he's capable of yet, even statistically. So this is someone that I think people should get on pretty soon. He's only rostered in 10% of leagues, and I just think if he's able to continue performing the way he is in Double-A right now down the stretch, he's going to be on top 50 list in the offseason.
Angel Martinez, you got to get on him now because, as Baby Huey says, if you wait till next season, it's going to be too late. So it's kind of somebody that right now is diving deep into prospects like Mike does. Just make sure you keep an eye on him for the rest of the prospect roll catches up here. Let's go back to Brandon. Let's talk about Juan Brito, who is a second baseman in the Colorado Rockies organization right now in Low A. 11 home runs, 68 RBI, 17 steals. The walk rate is more than the K rate, which is always something you love to see at the minor leagues. He's got a great speed score, a good WRC plus at 138. We talk about Zach Veen. We've talked about Ezekiel Tovar. We talked about a lot of great Rockies prospects, but this is his debut on the call-up here. Let's talk about some Juan Brito.
Yeah, Brito's an exciting player. As you mentioned, the walk rate and the K rate, those are two things that my model loves to identify. Loves to point out players that can walk as much as they strike out or get close to it. Brito 1% rostered on Fantrax. Of course, my 24-teamer is one of those 1%. But he's a second base prospect without much power projection. Fangraphs says he can hit, so that's something I like to see. And he's shown a lot of power recently. And the other thing to note is he's Rule 5 eligible this winter, so he might be a guy that either the Rockies add to their 40-man and find a spot for sooner than later, or he ends up on a different team with a chance, maybe a bench roll or something like that. But elite K rate, elite walk rate, elite ISO, and elite line drive and fly ball rates for a 20-year-old at A-ball. Exciting guy.
Yeah, very interesting to see him on this show for the first time here. Juan Brito is the name again that we're talking about here, and just kind of looking at a prospect list. The first one I pulled up MLB.com, and he's not even somebody I'd see in the top 30. So we're digging down deep here. What are your thoughts on him long term? You're excited, you think, about his future with the Rockies? I know you have Tovar there. We talked about that plays middle infield. They also have Adil Amador, who also plays middle infield. Do you think he has the type of promise early on that you think he could be a everyday starter for them in maybe 3 or 4 seasons?
I mean, guys who can walk and don't strike out, they find roles in the big leagues. As second base guys sometimes can find their way to the corner outfield if it's necessary. But yeah, Colorado's got a lot of really interesting prospects coming up in the next couple of years. It'll be interesting to see how they find a place to put them all. Yeah,
as again, Juan Brito is a name that digging deep here to keep an eye on in your dynasty leagues. Let's go to our who's next. Who is next for the call-up as we wrap up another great week here. And Mike, we're going to go back to you for your first player here. Cody Morris, another pitcher in the Cleveland Guardians organization. We've talked about other players, not Cody Morris to my knowledge here, but he's in AAA right now and on the season, 169 ERA in 6 games started there, 21.1 innings pitched, 208 FIP. And you think he could be used maybe down the stretch for a starter? You think it could be like a long reliever for Cleveland? What are your thoughts on Cody Morris?
Yeah, Cody Morris was someone that caught my attention last year. When I first started doing this, I was super obsessed with the age versus level, and I still think that's a good way to find players, but I would kind of overlook certain types of players who were old for the level, and like a 23, 24-year-old in AA, I wasn't pitcher, I was kind of dismissive, but he's got a nice arsenal. He's added some velocity to his fastball, so I'd call it a plus fastball, above average curveball, plus changeup, and his command is really good too. The reason his stats are so minimal this season is because he's coming back from injury. So I think he was someone that would have been up with the team very early in the season, because he's a 25-year-old. I think the organization is relatively high on him. I think they see him as better than the pitchers they have at the back of their rotation right now. And I do think they're going to give him an opportunity to start at some point this year. I'm not sure if it's just going to be right off the bat, but he's going to be called up, I believe, when the rosters expand. And he's someone that I would bet on being part of their rotation going forward. And we know that Guardians pitchers, that's a good place to invest if you're going to do it. And this isn't the guy you're going to have to wait years on. He's going to be 25, 26 next year. You're just going to kind of have a solid pitcher on your hands. So nice target right now, especially coming off the DL.
Yeah, he's got a fastball and get up to 97. Good carry on his four-seamer. A nice changeup to pair with it. Seems like he could be a nice solid option for the Guardians down the stretch here. But to be honest, we don't have to go too far for this next player, because guess what? He plays in the same organization in Bo Naylor, another prospect in the Guardians organization. They're a catcher between AA and AAA this year, a 265, 405, 474 slash, got 14 homers, 19 steals, a lot, even from a catcher in the minor leagues here. And Brandon, you think he's going to help them down the stretch here as the Guardians are fighting for a playoff berth?
Yeah, I hope so. This selection, Bo Naylor, is as much about what Bo's done as it is about what the Guardians have from the catching position. They're leading the AL Central by a game and a half as of today, and they're running out Austin Hedges and Luke Maile out there. Hedges has a 57 WRC plus. He does have 98th percentile pitch framing and 7 defensive runs saved this season. So he's a big defensive catcher, but Maile 14th percentile pitch framing, -1 defensive runs saved. He's not adding a bunch from the backup position. And then Roster Resource has the Cleveland Guardians have a platoon split at DH with Richie Palacios and Owen Miller right now. I just think like there's room for a bat. And I mean, Cleveland has a lot of bats like this in the upper minors, so it's going to be competitive. But the fact that Naylor can catch as well, I think they'll carve out a spot for him. And he's been super hot the last 30 days, extra hot the last 10 days. He's tamed down his K rate, which I think was one of his weaknesses, but elite walk rates over the season, elite ISO, elite line drive, fly ball rates. I like him a lot.
Bo Naylor, another player you maybe got to keep an eye on in those redraft leagues down the stretch if he gets the call, especially in a 2-catcher league, see what he can do for you. Last player we'll talk about here, Taj Bradley, who Andrew Painter is my favorite pitcher in the minor leagues right now. Maybe Kyle Harrison might be second, but Taj Bradley's definitely in the top 3 for me. And he could be next getting the call. Just got recently promoted to AAA, started 7 games for them. The results have not necessarily been great since he's been promoted to AAA. Does have a 4.80 ERA, a 4.64 xFIP, 5.10 FIP. Does still have, an 8.4 K per 9. I think that will go up to double digits the more he gets used to it there. But Taj Bradley is such a talent. Got a great fastball that sits in the mid-90s. Could potentially even get a couple ticks higher. Has a cutter that seems like it works really well as a secondary pitch for him. This is someone that really worked on his delivery and changed his mechanics to throw more strikes. And he's just kind of risen up fast through the Tampa Bay system. And Tampa Bay pitchers are, again, we talk about organizations like the Cleveland Guardians, like the Los Angeles Dodgers. I pay attention to the Rays and what they do with their high-end pitching prospects. Maybe down the stretch after a couple more starts in AAA, maybe they use him as a bulk reliever, like a follower down the stretch, maybe pitching like 3 or 4 innings behind an opener as they try to chase a playoff berth. And with the injury to Shane McClanahan, they might need some guys to get some innings. So I would not be surprised to see Taj Bradley get some major league experience this year. He's the real deal, and I think he is going to be a mainstay once he gets used to the big leagues here. All right, well, that will wrap us up here. Another episode of the Call Up in the books. I want to thank our guest, Brandon, for coming on, and please plug, again, your great website and anything else you want our audience to know about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You can find my work at popupprospects.com, and I'm on Pop-Up Prospects at Pop-Up Prospects on Twitter, and pretty active in the PARS Discord if you ever get into that rabbit hole. And thanks for having me.
Of course. And for those, I don't remember if you mentioned it live or it was before the show, but I think you did mention it live that this is your first podcast. We would never know. You very professional, didn't stammer. You said it's hot over there. Looks like you're keeping the heat in check over there. So awesome job. And hopefully we can have you back sometime soon down the road because you are a top prospect mind, my friend. And of course, Baby Huey, I want a chance to plug anything you want the audience to know about. And how are you doing at TGFBI? I think we have to touch a base on that again.
Yeah, I'm really focused on my TGFBI league right now. I don't talk about it a ton, but I'm in first place overall, and I'm got a lot of great managers fighting to catch me, and I have 5 weeks to hold them off. So every day I've been kind of just grinding away at that, trying to figure out ways that I can gain a little bit more points and hold them off. And it's kind of hurt my social media presence a little bit this year, but I hope everyone will understand if I can pull this off afterwards. I'll be back to talking prospects again, and this is a big deal for me. So I appreciate anyone reaching out and wishing me good luck.
Well, we'll wish you good luck live on the show, and I know you're going to keep giving it everything you have. But for those everybody that watches the Call Up every week on YouTube, we truly appreciate you guys. If you're enjoying these weekly Call Up shows, please make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and leave a comment below. Even a good luck, a 4-leaf clover or something from Mike, something we know that you're watching the show. And then if you're on the podcast feed, we appreciate you guys sub there. Every week, this episode will pop in your podcast feed. So we appreciate all you guys, however you consume the content. And you guys know we'll be back next week for the Call Up Week 22. But until then, we'll catch you all in the next one.